Welcome back to IGCSE Science Academy. Our goal is simple to break down complex concepts into clear exam ready insights that will help you master your IGCSE curriculum with confidence. Let's get started. Today's lesson is all about Loam. We have already discussed lesson 1 in our previous video. Now we are going towards the lesson 2. We are going to look at three main things: soil, science, weather, climate, and photosynthesis from IGCSE Environmental Management 0680. Basically, we are answering one big question: what do plants actually need to grow? By understanding how the ground and the weather work together, we will see how we manage the environment to produce the food the world needs. So today's learning objectives are: explain why loam soils are ideal for crop growth, define weather and its impacts on agriculture, describe wet and dry seasons globally, analyze conditions for optimal photosynthesis, interpret how environmental factors affect crop yield. All these five objectives we are going to learn today in this lesson. Now let's discuss soil composition. Let's look at this pie chart to see what makes up a typical soil sample. You will notice that soil is a mix of four key ingredients: mineral particles, organic matter, water, and air. The largest part of the chart, about 90% in this example, is made of mineral particles. And the mineral particles are sand, silt, and clay. Sand, about 40% of the soil is sand. These are the largest particles, from 0.05 to 2 millimeter. They provide good drainage but don't hold nutrients well. The percentage of silt is 30%. These are medium-sized, from 0.002 to 0.05 millimeter. They are great at retaining moisture and moderate nutrients. And the clay. The percentage of clay is 20%. They are the smallest particles, less than 0.002 millimeter. They are excellent at holding nutrients but have very poor drainage. The final 10% of the soil is split equally between organic matters and water and air. 5% of water and air and 5% of organic matters, which provide food for plants, and water and air which roots need to breathe and drink. What is loam soil? If you want to grow the best crops, you want loam soil. It is considered the perfect soil texture for agriculture because it's a balanced super mix of roughly 40% sand, 30% silt, and 20% clay. Why is this mix so good? Because it gives us the best of all worlds. Good drainage. Because of the sand, water flows through easily so the roots don't drown or rot. Nutrients retention. Thanks to the clay and silt, it's hold on to the essential minerals plants need to eat. Optimal aeration. The balance creates tiny air pockets allowing roots to breathe. Easy to work. It's not too heavy like pure clay and not too loose like pure sand, making it easy for farmers to plow and plant. In short, loam is the all-rounder that makes farming successful. Now we know that loam is what loam is. Let's look at the four scientific reasons why it is the best choice for farmers. Number one, water balance. It's all about the Goldilocks zone. Loam holds enough water for plants uptake while draining excess to prevent root rot. The pore spaces between particles create an ideal balance. So the spaces between particles allow extra water to drain away. This prevents the root rot where roots die from being too wet. Nutrient availability. Because loam contains clay, it can hold on to important nutrients like calcium, magnesium, and potassium. It uses something called cation exchange capacity to keep these nutrients ready for plants to eat when they need them. Number 3, root retention. Loam isn't too hard or too soft. This allows roots to easily push through the soil to get a strong grip and find more nutrients deep down. This supports larger plants and better nutrients absorption. And number 4 is microbial activity. Finally, loam provides the perfect home for good bacteria and fungi. These tiny organisms help break down organic matter and fix nitrogen, which acts like a natural fertilizer for the plants. Good, good aeration and moisture support beneficial bacteria and fungi that decompose organic matter and fix nitrogen. Now let's switch from the ground to the sky. To understand crop growth, we first need to define weather. Weather refers to the short-term state of the atmosphere at a specific location, including temperature, precipitation, humidity, wind, and cloud cover. It's what is happening right now outside your window. The key weather elements are temperature, precipitation, wind, cloud cover. Temperature is the daily highs and lows. Precipitation, any water falling from the sky like rain, snows, and hail. Wind, how fast the air is moving and which way it's blowing. Speed and direction. Cloud cover, how much of the sky is hidden by clouds. Amount of sky covered. Think of weather as the mood of the atmosphere. It can change in minutes. Seasonal variations in global agriculture. Farmers don't just watch the daily weather, they have to plan their entire year around seasons. Many parts of the world depends on two main periods: wet season, dry season. The wet seasons. This is usually the busy time. High rainfall increases of soil moisture, which tells farmer it's time to start planting. Crops grow rapidly now, but there are challenges too, like the risk of flooding and higher pest activity because of the humidity. So here are some key points: high precipitation, soil moisture increases, planting season begin, risk of flooding, rapid plant growth, increased pest activity. The dry season, when the rain stops, soil moisture drops. This is often the harvest season because dry weather makes it easier to collect crops. However, if farmers want to keep growing, they must use irrigation, artificial watering to prevent drought stress or plants going dormant. Here are the key points: low, no precipitation, soil moisture depletes, harvest season, risk of drought, stress, irrigation required, crop dormancy. Understanding these cycles is key to ensuring we have food all year round. Regional examples of seasonal patterns. To see how weather and climate actually affect farming, let's look at three different regions around the world. These examples show why farmers must match their crops to their local seasons. South Asia, monsoon climate. In this monsoon climate, the heavy rains from June to September are perfect for thirsty crops like rice, cotton, and sugarcane. West Africa Sahel. Here the wet season is shorter. Farmers grow hardy crops like millet and sorghum. that can survive in tougher conditions between May and October. Northern Australia, their seasons are flipped. Their wet season runs from November to April, which provides the heat and water needed for tropical fruits. This slide proves that climate is the boss of agriculture. No matter how good your soil is, you can only grow these specific crops if the weather provides the right amount of water and sun at the right time. It's all about the perfect timing for photosynthesis to happen on a massive scale. We have talked about the soil, weather, and the climate, but now let's look at the actual magic that happens inside the plant: photosynthesis, the foundation of crop growth. This is the chemical process where plants create their own food. Here is the chemical equation for the photosynthesis: carbon dioxide plus water plus light energy makes glucose and oxygen. Carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, glucose, and oxygen. To do this, plants follow a specific recipe. They take carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil. Using sunlight as the power source, they transform these into glucose, which is sugar energy for the plant, and release oxygen as a byproduct. Here is how the plant manages these 5 steps factory. Here is the process. First, light capture. Chlorophyll in the leaves acts like a solar panel to grab light energy. Gas exchange. Carbon dioxide enters the leaf through tiny holes called stomata. Third, water intake. Water is absorbed by roots from the soil. Then fourth is conversion. The light energy triggers a reaction that turns the carbon dioxide in water into glucose sugar. 5. Then the result, the glucose provides energy for growth. Oxygen is released as a byproduct. Without this process, agriculture simply wouldn't exist. Even if a plant has everything it needs, it might not grow at the same speed all the time. The speed of growth depends on these 4 environmental factors. Factors affecting photosynthesis rate. First is light intensity, then carbon dioxide concentration, temperature, and water availability. Light intensity: optimal full sunlight, usually thousands micromole per square meter per second. Slow growth, weak stems, leaf damage, water stress. Plants love full sunlight. Low light leads to slow growth and weak stems. However, too much intense heat from the sun can actually cause leaf damage. Carbon dioxide concentration: optimal 0.04% in atmosphere 400 parts per million. It's a way to measure very small amounts of something in a large mixture. Limited growth rate: enhanced growth in controlled environment. Carbon dioxide is the plant's building block, while the air naturally has enough for steady growth. Increasing it in controlled greenhouse can make crops grow much faster. Temperature: optimal 25 to 35 degrees centigrade for most crops. Less than 10% degrees centigrade slows enzyme activity. Greater than 40 degrees centigrade denatures enzyme. Most crops have a happy place between 25 to 35 degrees centigrade. If it's too cold, below 10 degrees centigrade, the plant's internal chemistry slows down. If it is too hot, above 40 degrees centigrade, those systems can break down entirely. Water availability: optimal, adequate soil moisture. Stomata close, photosynthesis stops root oxygen deprivation. Plants need moisture to keep their breathing pores, stomata open. If the soil is too dry, the plant closes these pores to save water. But that stops photosynthesis. On the flip side, too much water can drown the roots. By managing these four factors, farmers can ensure their crops grow as fast and healthy as possible. Let's look at the data. This chart shows us exactly how much a plant's work rate changes depending on its environment. We use 100% as our target for perfect growth. The chart uses 100% as the optimum or perfect growth rate. Anything lower than 100 means the plant is struggling, anything higher means the plant is supercharged. The three main factors, light intensity, temperature, and carbon dioxide concentration. So first is light intensity. Low light the plants only perform at 30%, which is why crops fail in deep shade. Optimum light, the plant hits its 100% peak. High light, if it's too bright or hot, the rate drops to 85% because plant starts to lose too much water. Water stress. Temperature. Low temperature at 40%, the plant's internal engines enzymes are moving too slowly. Optimum temperature between 25 to 35 degrees centigrade, the plants hit 100% efficiency directly. High temperature at 55%, the plants begin to overheat, which can damage its internal cell. Carbon dioxide concentration. Low carbon dioxide, this is the normal level in our atmosphere. The plant grows well at 65 degrees centigrades, but it's not at its maximum potential yet. High high carbon dioxide concentration, this is only factor on the chart that goes above the target reaching 120%. This is why farmers add extra carbon dioxide in houses. It makes the plant grow faster than nature intended. These charts prove that if a farmer manages the land, soil, and the climate weather perfectly, they can control the rate of photosynthesis to produce the most food possible. Now let's look at a real-world example of how farmers use their knowledge of climate to grow a specific crop. We are looking at a case study, wheat grown in northern India. Notice how the timing of the crop is perfectly matched to the changing weather. November to December, 15 to 20 degree centigrade lowland, with temperature at 15 to 20 degrees centigrade and low rain. These are the optimal conditions for seeds to germinate and start their life. January to February. As the plants grow their leaves, the temperature drops to 10 to 15 degrees centigrade with moderate rain. These cooler temperatures are ideal for this stage of growth. March to April. Now the plant needs a massive energy boost. The temperature rises to 20 to 30 degrees centigrade as we saw in our optimal condition chart. This is the perfect Goldilocks zone for high photosynthesis, allowing the plant to create the glucose needed to fill the wheat grains. April to May. Finally, as the temperature hits 30 to 40 degrees centigrade and there is a very low rain, the conditions become very dry. This is perfect for harvesting because dry tongue conditions prevent the grain from spoiling or rotting before it is collected. This case study shows that successful farming is all about timing photosynthesis to match the natural cycle of the climate. Everything we have discussed, light, carbon dioxide, temperature, and water, works together. But what happens if one of them is missing? This is explained by Blackman's law of limiting factors. Blakeman's law of limiting factors: the rate of photosynthesis is limited by the factor present in the shortest supply. Increasing other factor won't help if one factor is limited. Simply put, the rate of photosynthesis is limited by whichever factor is in the shortest supply. Even if you increase everything else, the plant won't grow faster if that one limiting factor is still missing. Let's look at three practical examples of this in action. Scenario 1. Imagine a field with perfect bright sunlight but very little carbon dioxide in the air. Photosynthesis stays slow because carbon dioxide is the limiting factor. Scenario 2. You have perfect light and perfect carbon dioxide, but the temperature is freezing at 5 degrees centigrade. Photosynthesis will be minimal because temperature is now the limiting factor. Scenario 3. It's a sunny day with perfect air, but it's the dry season and you have no irrigation. Photosynthesis stops entirely because water is the limiting factor. This law is why environmental management is so important. To get the best harvest, a farmer must identify and fix the specific factor that is holding the plants back. We have looked at the sky and the sun, but now let's look back at the chemistry of the ground, soil pH and nutrient availability. Soil pH is a measure of how acidic or alkaline your soil is. And it's a massive deal for farmers because it's act like a gatekeeper for nutrients. The sweet spot is most crops thrive in the optimal pH range of 6.0 to 7.0. At this level, essential nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium are most soluble, meaning the plant can easily drink them up. Optimal pH range, that is 6.0 to 7.0, maximum nutrient availability, best microbial activity. Most crops thrive potassium, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium readily accessible. Examples: wheat, rice, maize. Second is the danger zones. Too acidic, that is pH less than 5.5. This can lead to ammonium toxicity, which poisons the roots and stops nitrogen fixation from happening. Too alkaline, pH 8 point greater than 8.0. This locks up nutrients like iron and phosphorus. Even if the nutrients are in the soil, the plants can't grab them, leading to yellowing leaves, a condition called chlorosis. To keep a farm productive, maintaining this chemical balance is just as important as watering the crops. Now that we understand the science of soil, weather, and photosynthesis, the final question is, how can a farmer actually improve these conditions? We can group these strategies into three main areas of management. Improving crop growth conditions. First, soil quality. To maintain that ideal loam texture, farmers can add organic matter like compost or manure. They can also chemically adjust the soil using lime to raise the pH if it is too acidic, or sulfur to lower it if it's too alkaline. Additionally, crop rotation helps ensure the soil isn't stripped of the same nutrients year after year. Water management. In regions where water is limiting factor, farmers can install drip irrigations for efficient water use. Mulching to reduce evaporation. To keep that moisture is in the ground, mulching covering the soil reduce evaporation. On sloped land, building terraces prevent water runoff, and rainfall harvesting during the wet season ensures there is a backup supply for the dry months. Light optimization. Finally, to maximize photosynthesis, plants need the right amount of sun. This is achieved through proper spacing to avoid plants shedding each other and pruning trees to allow light to reach the lower canopy. Some farmers even use reflective mulches to bounce more light onto the leaves or simply time their planting to ensure the most growth happens during the sunniest month of the year. To conclude our journey from ground up to the sky, let's recap the four pillars of successful agriculture. First is loam soils. We learned that a balanced mix of sand, silt, and clay provides the ideal gold standard for plant stability and health. Weather. We identified that daily atmospheric conditions, from temperature to cloud cover, dictate the immediate environment of the plant. Seasonal patterns. We saw how global regions must time their planting and harvesting perfectly to match natural wet and dry cycles. Photosynthesis. Finally, we explored the plant's internal factory, which requires the perfect Goldilocks balance of light, carbon dioxide, temperature, and water to perform at its peak. Remember Blackman's law: a farmer must address every single one of these factors because the harvest will only be as good as its most limited sources. Manage the environment well and crops will follow. I hope this has given you a clear understanding of how we manage our planet's resources to sustain life. Thank you so much for your time and for listening today.